As I have opened the doors for my online course German for Beginners this week, there is one question I'm asked over and over again. Isn't it incredibly hard for adults to start learning a new language? Even more if it is the first foreign language. So, this is why I decided to make this episode a bit different than the other ones. We are not talking about how things work in German or what phrases you can use, but about whether you should be starting your language learning journey at all. Hallo und willkommen. Hello and welcome to the Uplevel Your German podcast. Ich bin Charlotte, I'm Charlotte, founder of the language school CharLingua and host of this show. My mission is to make your language learning journey as easy as possible. Would you love to start learning a new language? Maybe even German? And are you in doubt whether this is still possible for adults? Then you're not alone. My eldest daughter is 20 now, so you can imagine that I know exactly what you're feeling right now. We've always been told children are like language sponges. That sounds fantastic. Language learning must be quick, easy, and efficient for them, with new words and new structures of grammar simply flying towards them. But what does that mean for adults? Then there are also sayings like, was Hänschen nicht lernt, lernt Hans nimmermehr. So that's about the same as what little Hans doesn't learn, grown-up Hans won't be able to learn anymore. I'm sure there are similar sayings in your language. With these common perceptions in mind, it's not surprising that many adults don't feel up to the task of starting to learn a new and possibly even their first foreign language. They might say things like, my brain is just too old, or I've never been good at languages anyway. Maybe they will even try one of the offers that keep popping up on the internet, like learning a new language in 10 or 14 days, only to feel confirmed in their first assumption when they see that it didn't work out after all. But the good news right from the start. Today we know that adults can learn languages just as good as children or teenagers. Quite often they've even got better results. So, today you will learn about 7 reasons for that. First of all, motivation. The most important thing at any age is motivation. We need goals. We want to complete a project or even fulfill a mission. It's the same with language learning. Quite often teenagers are not at all motivated to learn a new language or anything at all. Some teenagers complete and leave school, and after 9 years of language study, they still don't feel confident enough to have a conversation in that language. But then, if these very same young people want to study abroad, they will learn the local language in no time because they're motivated. Perhaps adults do not learn quite as quickly as highly motivated young people. But if you are determined to learn German, you will make quicker progress than the average teenager. So what you should do is sit down and find your personal goal. For example, you want to achieve a certain language level, or you want to be able to communicate more fluently, or you want to find a job in Germany. So, it is a good idea to take notes about what is your motivation and what goals do you want to achieve. Number 2 is the learning experience. As adults, we have the great advantage that we have already tried a variety of learning techniques. We've had to solve so many problems already. Therefore, we have developed strategies that work for us. We have a feeling whether it will be more helpful for our language learning to watch a movie or if we should rather read something. It goes without saying that we take notes during a lesson and know that they should be reviewed, even if there's not always enough time to do so. Adults have already found out what time of day they study best and are looking for a suitable learning environment. And we've got a great advantage over the school kids. If we've started a language course and don't like the material or the teacher, or we see that we need more flexibility or more accountability, we can look for one that is more suited to our needs. Maybe you'd rather take an online course. Would you prefer to be taught in a group or take private lessons? Everything has its pros and cons, but unlike students at school, adults can pick and choose what pleases them. Number 3 is other language skills. Most people learn at least one foreign language during their school years. Later, they can build on these experiences. Of course, it's easier to learn a related language. For example, German and English are Germanic languages, so there are many related words and sentence structures. For example, we have Haus in German is Haus in English. Der Mann is the man. Das Netz is the net. Mein Name ist, my name is. Both languages are also influenced by Latin and ancient Greek, so we don't need to speak that to know that die Information is information, die Literatur literature, and Demokratie, die Demokratie, democracy. A child might not know yet and fully understand these words. To an adult, they are immediately clear and form an enormous wealth of passive vocabulary. That means the words that you can immediately understand. Number 4 is the knowledge of the world. We often understand things in a foreign language through context. A young woman smiling and smelling at a bunch of flowers will be likely to say something like, "Oh, these flowers smell lovely." If we open a foreign newspaper and see a text with a current political event and numbers in it, we can guess that it's about elections, a war, the environment, or whatever is just important at that time. Places or historical dates also help us to understand foreign texts, even if we don't know all the words. Children and young people are only just beginning to build up this knowledge. Number 5 is specialized texts. For the same reason, we can often understand texts from our field of study or work, or about topics we are interested in, more easily than everyday language. I myself have been to university in Spain for one semester. It was a surprise for me that I found it so much easier to read books about my subject than the daily newspaper. The internet is a great source here. Just try it out and find texts about topics you are interested in. Number 6. Adults learn in a different way. When children come to a foreign country as immigrants, they will learn the language in no time just by being at school and playing. They adapt by mimicking pronunciation and intonation. Quite often they will sound like a native speaker very quickly. Adults, on the other hand, make better progress at reading and writing. They will transfer skills from their first language and find similarities with a new one. However, the comparison is also not entirely correct. Adults rarely have the opportunity to immerse themselves in a language as deeply as a child. One of my students once complained, "My daughter was 3 years old when we came to Germany. She went to kindergarten when she couldn't speak any German yet, but the teacher spoke slowly to her. She gave her the scissors and repeated several times, Schere, schneiden, so scissors, cut. The other children did the same and taught her new words every day. I often thought that I would also learn German much faster that way." So, while the parents have to diligently crunch vocabulary, their children learn them directly in use. That's better than any full-time language course. But don't forget that children also need many, many years to become fluent. A 10-year-old does not yet have or use the vocabulary a 15-year-old teenager should have. So even for him, it's still a long way to becoming what we have in mind when we think about a fluent adult. Number 7. Adults can decide what, when, and how they learn. Adults don't speak enough. Of course, the study material is also very important, but that's true for children and for adults. But a great difference is, for adults, it's a real challenge to get enough opportunities to speak. While children don't get around speaking at school, at least if they're in a new country and go to school there, or have a good teacher who gets them to speak, many adults find it very hard to find someone to talk to. And even in a language course, there may be a large number of students in that course, or sometimes there are few students who constantly demand the teacher's attention or won't talk at all, so practicing dialogues doesn't really work. But again, fortunately, you're grown up and can look for other opportunities to speak. You could find a tandem partner, take conversation classes, or even take an online course that provides opportunities to practice speaking while you're learning at your own pace. In my online courses, I focus very much on giving my students these opportunities. So look around and find the teacher and class that are best for you. If you listen in real time, you can have a look at my course if you follow the link in the description. Doors are closing on the 1st of February, so if you listen after that time, you can still get on the waitlist for upcoming courses. So, as a recap, the aging process affects the brain, psyche, and body. We all know that. But factors such as motivation, type of input, educational standard, and the number of foreign languages you've already learned are much more important than age when learning a foreign language. An 80-year-old who has always kept learning can learn better than a little motivated 30-year-old who has not learned anything since the age of 18. So, bye for now and bis nächste Woche. Dann gibt es eine neue Episode von Uplevel Your German.